They say some homes carry memories, but what if the house itself remembers and demands more? I'm Elizabeth, 27 years old, an entrepreneur in the suburbs, and I have a story that's still very fresh. It just happened from mid 2024 to the end of the year. I was born and raised in the suburbs, but I still don't own a house. So while I run my business, I've also been moving from rental to rental in the city. Last year, in June 2024, I was house hunting and happened to come across a listing on social media, a two-story house that looked quite comfortable, located in central suburban. The house looked cozy and the rental price was surprisingly affordable, only 4,500 USD per year. It had 3 bedrooms, all with air conditioning, and was in a strategic location. It checked all my boxes. I was planning to live there with my best friend Sally, my uncle Irvine, and my grandmother. At the end of May 2024, Sally and I went to view the house. We met a relative of the owner. They came from a well-known religious and fairly wealthy family in central suburban. Their family business was related to religious matters. During the viewing, everything seemed positive. The house was nice, the family was friendly, the price was right. So I paid the full amount right away and we moved in on June 1st, 2024. At first, it was supposed to be the four of us. Me, Sally, Uncle Irvine, and my grandmother. But it ended up being just the three of us because Uncle Irvine got a job in a neighboring city and couldn't move in until 2 months later. The first night we stayed there, all three of us felt physically uncomfortable, sore, restless, and it was hard to sleep. It seemed normal, adjusting to a new place. But then we started hearing noises, especially from the kitchen area. There was a scratching sound at the kitchen door, like something was clawing at it. Still, we tried to stay positive, thinking it was just part of settling in. But around midnight, or maybe early morning, the scratching sound grew louder and seemed to move upward until it reached the ceiling above me. It sounded like long, sharp nails dragging across the ceiling. It made my skin crawl. Suddenly, we heard a loud thud, like someone had fallen upstairs. This made no sense. At that point, no one was staying upstairs. We all lived on the first floor. The sound was so loud that even my grandmother in the next room texted to ask what it was, but we were too scared to go check. So Sally and I just tried to sleep. In the following days, we kept hearing strange noises from the second floor. On the third day, my mom came to visit from out of town. That day, something odd happened. My grandmother, who usually cooks rice, kept making it over and over, but every batch came out spoiled. No matter how many times she tried, the rice turned out rotten. Then she received a phone call from our hometown. We got the news that my great-grandmother had passed away. She had to return home immediately to handle the funeral arrangements. I couldn't join her because I was overwhelmed with work. So it was just me, Sally, and my mom left in the house. We had actually been preparing to hold a small housewarming ceremony, but after the sad news, we canceled it. One of my close friends, Nessie, came over to offer condolences. She stayed the night. A week after my great-grandmother's death, Nessie told me that she heard footsteps upstairs and someone calling her name. My mom and Sally told her to ignore it, but I could tell they were also frightened. They, too, had heard strange sounds coming from the second floor. That weekend, Sally, Nessie, and I went out to South Suburban. After we got back, Nessie started saying her body was aching badly. Sally and I were confused. She had looked completely fine earlier, but her condition got worse. We rushed her to the hospital and she was admitted to the ER. Soon after, she fell into critical condition and passed away. I was devastated. I was still barely settled into this new home, and now I had lost someone so dear to me. Even after she died, I would randomly smell her perfume around the house, as if her presence still lingered. 7 days after Nessie's passing, while we were still deep in grief, we received another phone call. My aunt had died. At that point, I was mentally spiraling. In less than a month of living in this house, 3 people connected to me had died. From then on, more and more strange events happened. My business started failing out of nowhere. Money was draining fast and losses kept piling up. Even Sally, who had never been hospitalized in her life, was suddenly admitted due to health issues. After she was discharged, I got sick and ended up in the ER with a severe breathing problem. I nearly died. It felt like we were being tested again and again. After 2 months of living there, one of my mom's friends, Uncle Vince, who apparently has spiritual sensitivity, visited our house. We didn't even tell him anything beforehand. But the moment he stepped in, he said something felt wrong. He insisted on checking the kitchen and the second floor. When he went upstairs, he stopped in front of a room and pointed at something stuck to the door, a faded piece of paper. On it, written in a child's handwriting, "This is my room. If you want to come in, knock first." I got chills. I swear I'd never seen that paper before. Not during the viewing, not after moving in. After checking the rest of the house, Uncle Vince came down and said, "This house has bad energy. It will destroy the people living in it." He added that there were two spiritual entities here, a tall, dark figure and an elderly spirit. He warned me to stay strong if I chose to remain. He didn't say much more. He said he felt like he was being watched just talking to me. I didn't quite understand everything he meant, but I tried to stay positive. Still, the disturbances only increased. Weird smells like decay, especially near the kitchen and vents, scratching noises from the roof every night, sleep paralysis, whispers, physical touches, objects moving on their own, even during the day. All three of us, me, Sally, and my grandmother, kept slipping or falling in the kitchen as if someone was tripping us. We began arguing all the time. The house just felt heavy. Even worse, every night my grandmother had trouble breathing. After 2 months, Uncle Irvine finally moved in as planned. I thought things would get better, but just 3 days later, he got into a serious car accident on his way home from work. Thankfully, he survived. At that point, I was at my limit. A few weeks later, Sally's aunt, Miss Kelly, who also has spiritual abilities, visited Sally's family in a neighboring city. Sally showed her pictures of the house we were staying in. Miss Kelly immediately said, "You need to move. This house is full of dark energy and evil spirits." She even claimed that the previous owners, a husband and wife, had died inside the room Sally and I were staying in, and their deaths were unnatural. That revelation was chilling. The owner's family was known to be successful and wealthy, but I eventually heard rumors from neighbors that the couple might have made a spiritual pact to gain wealth, which backfired on them. Their own lives became the price. We later realized the person we met during the house viewing was their child, and it makes sense that they didn't share what happened to their parents. According to Miss Kelly, the spirits of the owners still demand a sacrifice from whoever lives in the house. Someone must fall ill or die. Maybe that's why everything happened the way it did. She warned us that the next target was my grandmother. She would suffer a stroke if we didn't get her out. We immediately decided to move out, even though we had only lived there for 5 months on a 1-year lease. But the owner's family tried to stop us from leaving, even though we had already paid in full. They didn't want us to go. But I had made up my mind. We moved out in November 2024. By January 2025, I, Sally, Uncle Irvin, and my grandmother had resumed our lives. We moved back to our old place, and things started to improve. The misfortunes faded, our health stabilized, and slowly we recovered. The trauma, the losses, the pain, they can't be undone. But I'm grateful we made it out. The last I heard, that house is now being advertised again for rent. I just hope the next tenants don't experience what we did. As for that mysterious piece of paper on the upstairs door, it still haunts me to this day. I never found out where it came from. What do you all think? Could it be residual energy, a curse, or part of a deadly pact? Have you ever encountered a house that seemed too good to be true? Let me know in the comments.